in 2016, when it was clear by the end that Clinton was a stronger candidate, had won the delegate race. Now you could wind up in a situation that in many ways is the Sanders campaign's worst nightmare, where the party establishment still comes in and manages to take this away. I don't think that, 3 or 4 months before a general election, that they're going to be able to smooth things over with Sanders' Democratic supporters in a way that will make the bulk of his supporters gravitate to whoever the nominee winds up being.
And particularly now with a tweeter-in-chief in the White House, because President Trump has not been shy about tweeting out, you know what, they're trying to steal this from Bernie Sanders again. He's pushing on that button pretty consistently.
No question about it. I mean, Trump has been the troll in the Democratic primary race. I mean, everything that would upset Sanders supporters, he's been out there tweeting about. I mean, I do kind of personally question whether that really has much of an effect. Trump is not a messenger who Democrats or Democratic socialists put a lot of stock in. But at the same time, Trump has the power to put these issues into the headlines, to start fights that it's difficult for Democrats to avoid, and has made clear that whatever chaos he can sow in the Democratic primary race, he's going to use his full social media powers to do so.
Well, and Josh, I've seen at least some reporting on polls, I don't know how reliable they are, that in fact when you ask Bernie Sanders supporters who they'd go to if Bernie Sanders wasn't running, a surprising plurality, but a surprising number say Donald Trump. I mean, you would never think that would be true, but it appears that actually may be a second choice for a lot of these people.
I would be skeptical of that personally. I mean, part of that is an expression of frustration that if you deny my candidate again, that I will go and do the worst thing that Democrats could possibly imagine. I think a much likelier scenario for disappointed Sanders supporters is that they simply stay home, that if their guy isn't on the ticket, they are not interested in participating in the general election and don't view Trump, a second Trump term, is enough of a threat to get out and vote for somebody who they find distasteful. But again, this is the problem that the Democratic Party has to solve between now and November.
Yeah. In the meantime, we've got the debate coming up tonight. What are you going to be watching for, Josh? You're such a informed watcher.
I'm going to be watching to see, do Democrats take Harry Reid's advice and go after Sanders in a way that will blunt his momentum? And then, of course, the other big wild card in the race is Mike Bloomberg, and the fact that he has risen rather suddenly into the top tier of candidates, has a ton of money, a ton of name recognition, and quite a bit of momentum. He too will make an appealing target for a lot of Democrats on that stage.
Yeah, and of course, the founder and majority owner of Bloomberg LP, our parent company. Josh, thank you so much, and once again, congratulations. It's a terrific piece on the Bloomberg right now. That's Josh Green of Bloomberg Business Week. In the meantime, let's stay on Business Week and go to Business Week coming up right now here on ABC Radio.
Yeah. Or Bloomberg Radio.
Yeah.
Maybe on ABC Radio. Maybe our empire
spots,
is growing. There you go. I love me some Josh Green. Always love listening to him. We're going to talk about the Fed minutes, get a check on the economy ahead of that debate. Also, the CEO of Curaleaf is going to be along. We're going to talk to him. And there's a new book that's a deep dive on Facebook. So all that ahead.
All that's to look forward to on Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Masser and Jason Kelly. That does it for Balance of Power today. On Bloomberg Radio, I'm David Weston.
Discover Ireland's wild Atlantic way with Aer Lingus. Fly London to the west of Ireland from $32.99 each way as part of a return trip. Enjoy breathtaking scenery, taste fresh seafood, and explore wild coastal walks. Smart enjoys a short break in Ireland. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at airlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
Major League Baseball is back. Are you ready to unlock the 2020 season with TuneIn Premium?
And this one is gone! It hits the foul pole!
Be there from day one with every single game of spring training, rivalry games, split squads, Cactus League, Grapefruit League. TuneIn Premium has it all. Then, when the pitch count starts for real, experience live and on-demand access to every game, everywhere you go, from opening day to the World Series. Don't miss out on the action. Search Premium to upgrade today.
Upgrade to TuneIn Premium and get over 45 commercial-free music stations. You'll also get live commercial-free news, plus live play-by-play games from NFL, MLB, NBA, and NHL. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip
Follow
Bayless.
and tune in on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Want to know a quick, easy way to see if your favorite podcasts have a new episode available? Just go to the home screen on your TuneIn app and see the latest editions under the Your New Episode section. Happy listening.
Financial capital of the world, 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio. This is Bloomberg Business Week. Insight from the reporters and editors who bring you America's most trusted business magazine. Plus, global business, finance, and tech news as it happens. Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Masser and Jason Kelly on Bloomberg Radio.
And live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio, streaming on YouTube. Welcome to Bloomberg Business Week for this Wednesday, February 19th, 2020. Carol Masser along with Jason Kelly. And we do have the latest Fed meeting minutes. Of course, that was from the meeting on January 29th. The headlines, conditions expected in the second quarter for T-bill tapering. So this is going to play into what the Fed is doing in terms of its balance sheet. And then another headline, we have the Fed holding rates steady for a time, supporting the economy.
Yeah. The current policy stance to, quote, remain appropriate for a time. So a lot of room to interpret that, it feels like.
Well, and I feel like that's what they've been saying, right? That they've got certainly room to play. We don't see any signs of inflation.
But what's the time? That's going to be the question that we're going to dig into, I bet, quite a bit over the next little bit.
All right, first up, let's get to your top business headlines. See if there's any market reaction to those Fed minutes. Here is Charlie Bellet.
Hi, thank you very much, Carol Masser. Little market reaction as I speak right now. The Dow, the S&P, NASDAQ all advancing. S&P, NASDAQ, they are both at records. Essentially, that is right where they are now, with the S&P up 19, a gain of 0.6%. NASDAQ up 93, higher by 1%. The Dow pushing higher as well, up 138 points now. That is a gain of 0.5%. 10-year yield, 1.56%. We've got gold up 0.5% right now at $16.09 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude up 2.5%, 53.36 a barrel on WTI. So again, recapping here, equities higher, S&P up 18, up 0.6%. I'm Charlie Pelleton. That is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thanks so much. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week. This portion brought to you by Commonwealth Financial Network for the sixth straight time. J.D. Power ranks Commonwealth #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms. Visit Commonwealth.com to learn more. Coming up, we're going to get into the news of the day. We're going to talk to the CEO of Curaleaf as well. We're also going to get a preview of the Democratic debate tonight in Nevada. Kevin Surley's on the ground.
Absolutely. And then we've got a great little story by Dana Hall talking about Tesla's next big challenge. Tesla already in the news this week, again, for several different reasons. But this one, well, maybe a surprise, maybe not. So
Can I also say we're going to get PTJ, Paul Tudor Jones versus Pitbull? Yeah, you're going to want to tune into that.
You did not see that coming.
I didn't see it coming.
All right. And also we've got the CEO of JSW Steel on why he backs the Trump administration in terms of tariffs on steel, and yet he is suing the U.S. Commerce Department at the same time. So it's a story that's in the magazine. Our Joe Doe wrote it, and it's in the magazine that will be on newsstands later on and on Bloomberg.com and certainly on the Bloomberg terminal.
All right, let's get into the Fed minutes now. Dave Wilson's here with us in New York City in our Bloomberg Interactive Brokers studio. He's our stocks editor, author of Chart and Stock of the Day. And Steve Matthews down in the ATL, economics reporter extraordinaire. I've been watching the Fed for a long time. Steve, I want to start with you. Nothing shocking, it feels like, in these minutes, but as you read them with your nuanced eye, what do you see?
Steady as she goes. The new language in the minutes are that the Fed is considering interest rates where things are right now to be appropriate for a time. And the new language in this minutes, and if you want to parse over words, is for a time. It's unspecific, but basically they're saying, there's not going to be a increase in rates or decrease in rates for some time. And that's not really a surprise. That's what they've been telegraphing for a while. There was also an interesting discussion of the inflation target. The Fed is targeting 2% inflation. They're going through a review of their monetary policy framework where they're considering either a range or an average inflation target. And there is, a good group of FOMC participants who favors overshooting that target. So that's kind of interesting.
So in other words, let the economy run maybe a little hot if we get to that point, rather that than go in the other direction.
Exactly.
Or stall any growth that's starting to happen.
They are not going to be worried if inflation overshoots, given that over the last 7 or 8 years, we have been undershooting the 2% target. So they're saying, yeah, let things run a little bit hot and we're not going to worry about it. We're not going to be quick to raise rates because of higher inflation.
Well, steady as she goes, and we're certainly seeing that reaction in the financial markets.
Markets seem, as they have been for some time, steady as she goes. Dave Wilson, come on in here. What do you read in the trade?
Steady as she goes. That works for me. I mean,
I think we have our theme, ladies and gentlemen.
Absolutely. Get that song by the Raconteurs going.
There you go.
You bet. Anyway, I mean, the S&P 500 peaked a little bit earlier today. It's sort of sliding off its high. That said, the index is headed for a record. So is NASDAQ. I mean, Dow Industrials haven't quite gotten there. Weakness in Walmart and a couple of other stocks. Walmart had earnings out the day before and moved up on those, and it's given back some of those gains. And beyond that, it's more the same. It's like Fed policy. As long as it kind of moves forward the way it is, I mean, you've still got a lot of money out there that investors have to find a home for, and they've certainly, in many cases, found that home in the stock market. And we've seen it time and again push shares to records lately.
All right, so Steve Matthews, one of the reasons we love talking to you is A, you're super smart, and B, you're not in New York, you're not in Washington, you're talking with like real folks in one of the fastest growing markets in the country. Is the Fed fairly reflecting what you see as you talk to folks in that part of the country, as well as, folks at the Atlanta Fed and business executives and whatnot?
Absolutely, and it was interesting. I was talking to Raphael Bostic this morning. He was speaking to a group in Buckhead, which is kind of the business area for Atlanta, and he was saying, he's not seeing excessive risk taking. That most of the businesses that he talks to and most of the businesses who are at this breakfast are saying things are going well, but they're not seeing signs that, for example, the commercial real estate market is overheating or the residential real estate market is overheating. And these are the things that people were really worried about a decade ago.
Right, and those are the things that you probably would see if they were to overheat. You would see them overheating in a place like Atlanta, right?
Exactly. You would see it in Atlanta. You would see it in, Las Vegas and maybe South Florida. And there are not signs of that. So that is really comforting to the Fed that, you're not seeing this kind of thing happening.
All right. So, Dave, we get through these Fed minutes, and we've kind of pointed out, thanks to Steve, kind of what's a little bit different this time around. I mean, what are the conversations that investors are right now having in this market environment? We're pretty much through most of the big earnings, right?
We are. I mean, one theme that's sort of emerging is investors' willingness to, shall we say, play down what's happening to companies' results because of the coronavirus. Latest example is Analog Devices, the chip maker. They talked about how their revenue is going to be down $70 million this quarter because of the effects of the virus, and yet you got a stock that's higher by more than 4.5% as we speak. So, we've seen that happen before. We may no doubt see that again, as long as companies can manage to maintain some kind of growth in the face of whatever effect the virus may have on their ability to get supplies or to be able to sell to the Chinese market if they're in there. I mean, people are willing to give them a break.
All right.
Interesting. All right. Yeah. Well, an interesting report. We'll continue to dig into it, I'm sure. Our thanks to Dave Wilson. You'll be back in a bit with your chart and stock of the day. And our deep appreciation to Mr. Steve Matthews, economics reporter down
Would you like him as much if he wasn't in Atlanta?
Of course.
I love him.
We worked alongside each other for a long time.
Just that Atlanta thing.
He's one of the smart. He is straight up one of the smartest reporters at Bloomberg, for sure, because he's covered consumer.
I adore him.
He's covered so many different things.
Wherever we go to Atlanta, man, you just light up.
I do. Well, smart people down there, led by Steve Matthews. All right.
Mom and Dad are there, right?
Yeah, Mom and Dad are there.
Just going to say.
Exactly. But also Steve Matthews.
Also smart.
All right.
Smart. Let's get to the Bloomberg Markets Bite of the Day. One number that tells us a lot. Today's number is 700 million, nice and round. Japan's Mitsubishi UFJ Financial is investing more than 700 million in Southeast Asian ride-hailing giant Grab, gaining access to millions across the region that, Jason, use the mobile app to book cars and meals.
Yeah, the Japanese financial institution intends to market a range of financial services, insurance to loans, to Grab users. That makes sense. Grab, one of several ride-hailing giants backed by SoftBank. We're going to talk about them a little bit later. Trying to build a regional super app. All right.
Super app.
Super app.
Comes with a cape.
It does. Let's get to Bob Moon now. He's got world national headlines.
Jason, fresh allegations involving President Trump are raising new questions about the leaks of Democratic emails that helped Trump's 2016 campaign.
WikiLeaks. WikiLeaks. I love WikiLeaks. This WikiLeaks is like a treasure trove.
Lawyers for WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange told a London court today they will provide evidence that President Trump was prepared to offer a pardon if Assange agreed to quote-unquote play ball about those email leaks. The lawyers are alleging that then U.S. Representative Dana Rohrabacher met with Assange, they say, on instructions of the president, offering a pardon or some other way out if Assange played ball and said the Russians had nothing to do with the leaks. The Democratic National Committee has long accused Trump of conspiring with Russia and WikiLeaks to hack then-opponent Hillary Clinton's emails in the run-up to the election. President Trump achieved his highest approval rating in the Gallup poll after he was impeached, while some Democratic candidates are struggling to move the needle. Bloomberg's Irv Chapman reports from Washington.
While Senator Amy Klobuchar won votes in New Hampshire on the strength of her last debate performance, she still has a way to go nationwide. The editor-in-chief of Gallup poll, Mohammed Yunus, also said in a Bloomberg interview, public performances have hurt Joe Biden.
He was at 60% favorability, and today he's at 44% favorable. The interesting things to watch on favorability are Buttigieg and Klobuchar, because 25% of Americans basically say they still don't know who they are.
The Gallup poll found the economy to be the country's #1 political issue, followed by health care. In Washington, Irv Chapman, Bloomberg Radio.
Global news 24 hours a day on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. I'm Bob Moon.
If morning is not your favorite part of the day, then maybe you're not listening.
We finally start to make a move.
Tom Keene.
What would you expect from Bezos next?
Jonathan Farrow.
How uncomfortable should central banks be with this situation?
Morning should be good for you.
We had no idea where this would head on that morning after.
Bloomberg Surveillance. Weekday mornings at 7 Eastern. On Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg. The world is listening.
Imagine being fired because of who you love. Imagine being denied medical treatment because of who you marry. Imagine being evicted because of who you are. Millions of Americans don't have to imagine this. They have to live it. Because in 31 states, it's legal to discriminate against LGBT people. Get the facts at beyondido.org. Brought to you by the Gill Foundation and the Ad Council.
In-depth analysis, concise reporting, need-to-know global business news. Around the world and across the markets, Bloomberg connects the dots for decision makers. Stay on top of today's headlines. Follow big breakthroughs in tech. Understand the latest political issues. See how the world's wealthiest are spending their money. Track what's happening in the markets, and much more. Subscribe today to Bloomberg, the global standard for business reporting. Get it all at Bloomberg.com/subscriptions.
Sweet strawberry icing. You're in Goodwill, and just past that vintage denim jacket you spot miniature donut earrings. You lean in. That's the scent of shopping success. Because at Goodwill, every item you buy funds local job training and more. So bring home those donut earrings and bring home so much good to your community. Goodwill. Bring good home. Brought to you by Goodwill and the Ad Council.
The market.
Despite never having used them, Alison Peartree was not initially a fan of purple bricks.
Because I heard from my uncle's cousin's neighbour's dog walker they don't have proper estate agents.
But Alison's uncle's cousin's neighbour's dog walker was wrong. Purple Bricks have experienced local agents ready to sell your home.
Turns out Martin from Purple Bricks was very knowledgeable. And he didn't charge commission. I've even recommended him to my sister's boyfriend's auntie's hairdresser, Sharon.
Purple Bricks. Book your free valuation today.
Fixed fee payable on instruction or after 10 months. Viewing service cost extra.
The famous five were at home discussing their next adventure. "Let's visit Tower Bridge," said Dick. "Or Cardiff Castle," added Julian. "St. Michael's Mount," cried Anne. Dick jumped up. "Wherever we're going, we'll need to leave right now." "Relax," said George. "It's faster than you think by train. Anyway, we can't go yet. You're still in your pyjamas." With faster journeys across our network, adventures are closer than you think. Great Western Railway. Adventures start here. Terms and conditions apply. Selected routes only.
The government and the NHS are prepared to deal with coronavirus. You can help too. The best way to protect yourself and others is to wash your hands with soap and water or use a sanitizer gel regularly throughout the day. Catch your cough or sneeze in a tissue, bin it, and wash your hands. If you have recently arrived back from specified areas, follow the returning traveller advice. Check the list of areas and find out more at nhs.uk/coronavirus.
Did you know your favorite radio stations are in your pocket? Yes, the TuneIn app lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio anywhere you want. To see all the stations broadcasting in your area, find the local radio section on the home screen. Keep it local with TuneIn.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
Major League Baseball is back. Are you ready to unlock the 2020 season with TuneIn Premium?
And this one is gone! It hits the foul pole!
Be there from day one with every single game of spring training, rivalry games, split squads, Cactus League, Grapefruit League. TuneIn Premium has it all. Then, when the pitch count starts for real, experience live and on-demand access to every game, everywhere you go, from opening day to the World Series. Don't miss out on the action. Search Premium to upgrade today.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Right now, instead of hearing this, you could be listening to the music that keeps you moving with TuneIn Premium. Find today's biggest songs and all of your favorites commercial-free. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip
Follow
Bayless.
at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Media services foster innovation, empower clients, and offer nearly limitless opportunities for career growth. Visit Bloomberg.com/careers today to view our current job opportunities. Bloomberg LP is an equal opportunity employer. The address once again is Bloomberg.com/careers.
Not completing high school is more of a social thing than it was an academic thing. I came out in the 11th grade. Nobody was embracing you. The kids were cruel. It was very difficult to be gay. Even though all these years have passed, I still had that longing to have my diploma. The hard part was determining that I was going to do it, but I definitely didn't do it alone.
At age 30, with the help of her mentor, Carissa finished her high school diploma.
I have a mentor, Maria. She convinced me to continue my education and to finish what I started to get my diploma. Just never judges. She's a true role model. If you're even considering getting your high school diploma, go get it. You can do it.
No one gets a diploma alone. If you're thinking of finishing your high school diploma, you have help. Find free adult education classes near you at finishyourdiploma.org. That's finishyourdiploma.org. Brought to you by the Dollar General Literacy Foundation and the Ad Council.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. Latest Fed minutes are out. Federal Reserve officials viewed their current monetary policy as appropriate, quote, for a time, while they remain on guard against domestic and global risks that could slow the longest U.S. expansion on record. Stocks close to the highs of the day right now, with the S&P up 21 at a record 33.91, up 0.6%. NASDAQ also at a record. We'll round that up to 100 points on the NASDAQ Composite Index at 98.32, a gain of 1%. The Dow up 154 points, up by 0.5%. And back to NASDAQ for a moment. Worth pointing out that in the year-to-date column on the Bloomberg, NASDAQ is up by 9.6%. We've got the 10-year down 132nd, the yield checking in at 1.56%. Gold up 0.3 now, $16.05 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude up 2.4%, $53.30 a barrel. Recapping, equities holding higher on a Fed Minute Wednesday. S&P up 21, up 0.6%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is your Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie Pellet, thank you so much for the update. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Carol Massar along with Jason Kelly right here on Bloomberg Radio.
Let's head down to Mexico City specifically. Eric Martin is there, Latin America government and economy reporter for Bloomberg. He's got a nice scoop on the terminal today. It's all about Jared Kushner and money and Central America, which has been really a point of contention, it feels like, for this administration. Eric joins us on the phone from our bureau there. Eric, nice to talk to you.
Jason, thank you for having me on.
It's our pleasure. So tell us what's going on here. Mr. Kushner trying to get some money sort of flowing that has not been for a lot of political reasons, it feels like.
Well, that's right. The approach of this administration to development has largely been trying to get private investment to help finance development, particularly in Central America. We've seen OPIC, the Office of the Overseas Private Investment Corporation, that's also been involved, was involved early in the López Obrador administration after he became president in Mexico. And there's been OPIC involvement here. But one of the biggest challenges that you have here is that companies don't feel a lot of security to invest in some of the most insecure countries in the world.
So what's interesting, though, is pairing private investment with U.S. aid. Is that okay to do that?
Well, it certainly is a new approach. It's something that we've seen that President Trump had previously put the aid for the Northern Triangle, Honduras, Guatemala, and El Salvador on hold, and he's really questioned the past U.S. aid model in terms of the way that USAID and other parts of the government and State Department and groups finance development and aid to some of these countries. But it's something that's untested in terms of how much the private sector and private equity will really want to invest in countries that have significant rule of law problems, some of the highest murder rates in the world in the case of Honduras and El Salvador as well. And so, it's a real question as to whether this strategy can be successful.
So we're kind of, though, saying if the U.S. is going to help out, there also has to be some private money at stake as well. Is that kind of where the policy is shifting towards?
That's absolutely correct. We've seen a reorganization of OPIC in the last year, and the reorganization of U.S. development aid overall to try to make it more investment-based. Might be a more typical policy of or philosophy of Republicans in general, but in terms of looking for private sector rather than public sector solutions to some of these problems.
And obviously, Eric, and I think you alluded to this, immigration is tied up in all of this, and Jared Kushner, it sounds like from your reporting, has separately been working on that issue. Tie those together for us.
Absolutely. Jared Kushner has been one of the most important envoys from the Trump administration to Mexico. We saw him here having dinner with President López Obrador last year, and we understand that one of the main messages that he's delivered consistently since President López Obrador's election, as well as during the campaign, was that Mexico needed to do more to stop undocumented migrants from Central America. Now, what we've seen with the Mexican government deploying its new National Guard, a new federal force that was created just last year, originally to tackle domestic security problems. As we've seen them deployed on the southern border with Guatemala, we've seen a significant drop in terms of undocumented apprehensions on the U.S. border with Mexico, which is generally a proxy for migration overall. So we've seen about a 70% drop since last May in the latest numbers. And so the strategy of trying to find enforcement ways to discourage people from coming from Central America, trying to cross through Mexico to the U.S. seems to have had some effect. The question is how long-term sustainable is this?
Well, and I feel like, Eric, this is a great debate topic for kids in high school, where it's like, okay, should U.S. foreign aid be, just good on its own, right? And out there for a mission to help maybe a struggling country and a struggling ally versus,
strings attached.
Right. Strings attached. And should U.S. foreign aid, be money well spent? Let's put it that way.
And it's also trying to strike a balance between carrots and sticks in terms of, we want development. The long-term, U.S. government wants development, and the long-term solution to the migration problem in these countries is to create robust economies where people have opportunities to work safely and they don't have the desire or the need to leave. But they're facing all kinds of problems. Food famine is one food shortage is one that's been increasingly prevalent in terms of climate change. And so that's another challenge. And so some of these push factors that are leading people to leave are the things that this is trying to address. But there will always be the pull factor of potential employment in the U.S., salaries that are much higher, communities that may potentially be safer. And so it's a difficult problem to try to fix in a really deep way.
All right, Eric Martin, thank you so much. Really appreciate it. Latin American government and economy reporter for Bloomberg, joining us on the phone from Mexico City. We have a bureau there as well.
Yeah, it's a great scoop. I mean, and it really is at the heart, as we discussed. There's so many issues that sort of fit into that sort of Venn diagram in a lot of ways. It's obviously private capital, it's public aid, it's immigration, it's politics, it's neighbors, it's trade, it's all of those things. Our team does a great job down there, and this was a scoop by Eric, Justin Sink, and Saleha Mohsen. So obviously you sort of see all
the pieces,
all the pieces of our empire sort of working hard on that.
All right, looking forward to hearing more, and we'll see. We'll continue to follow the coverage on that story specifically. Coming up, though, a story I actually mentioned yesterday about Apple, its revenue warning, and what it meant for the Treasury market and specifically the yield curve. So we're going to dig a little bit deeper into that. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week. I'm Carol Massar along with Jason Kelly. You can catch us on Bloomberg Radio and right now on YouTube as well. This is Bloomberg.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Federal Reserve officials see their current policy as appropriate for a time. Minutes from their meeting last month show the Fed remains on guard against risks that could slow the economy. At that meeting, the Fed left interest rates unchanged. Stocks continue to show modest gains, seemingly unaffected by the Fed minutes. The Dow Jones Industrial Average up 146. The S&P 500 is up 20. The Nasdaq Composite up 96. Most of Forever 21 stores could remain open under plans being developed by its new owners. The teen retailer is working to emerge from bankruptcy and is looking for a new CEO. Forever 21 filed for Chapter 11 in September. Your next domestic flight could be a special treat. Airlines are putting some of their biggest jets into North American service after pulling them from their China routes. American, United, and Delta have suspended China service due to the coronavirus. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
Hi, I'm Danica Patrick. Watching my nieces grow, play, and learn is amazing, but not every child gets to be carefree. 1 in 6 kids in the U.S. are hungry. This breaks my heart, and it's something that Feeding America is working to change. Each year, the Feeding America network of food banks rescues billions of pounds of good food that would have gone to waste and gives it to families in need. To help, visit feedingamerica.org.
Brought to you by Feeding America and the Ad Council.
In-depth analysis, concise reporting, need-to-know global business news. Around the world and across the markets, Bloomberg connects the dots for decision makers. Stay on top of today's headlines. Follow big breakthroughs in tech. Understand the latest political issues. See how the world's wealthiest are spending their money. Track what's happening in the markets, and much more. Subscribe today to Bloomberg, the global standard for business reporting. Get it all at Bloomberg.com/subscriptions.
I am a force for good.
I am a force for courage.
And for calm.
I am a force for safety.
For fairness. For leadership.
I am a force for the future.
For compassion.
For my community.
I am a police officer.
And I am a force for all.
Be one of the 20,000 new police officers and be a force for all that you believe in. Search Join the Police.
The famous five were at home discussing their next adventure. Let's visit Tower Bridge, said Dick. Or Cardiff Castle, added Julian. St. Michael's Mount, cried Anne. Dick jumped up. Wherever we're going, we'll need to leave right now. Relax, said George. It's faster than you think by train. Anyway, we can't go yet. You're still in your pyjamas. With faster journeys across our network, adventures are closer than you think. Great Western Railway. Adventures start here. Terms and conditions apply. Selected routes only.
Fill the trolley with your favourite brands for less at Asda. Mix and match across beauty products like Tresemme, Sure and Simple and get any two for only £3. Big brands, small prices. Don't compromise. Asda. Save money, live better. Selected stores and lines subject to availability. Prices range from £1.50 to £2.45.
And downward-facing dog.
Lorraine here knows her downward-facing dog from her one-legged king pigeon. Well, you'd need to if you run your own hot yoga business.
Cobra.
But she'd prefer to be working on her warrior pose than on her finances. That's why she got QuickBooks. Now she can get paid, track income, and run payroll all in one place. Because no matter how hot the yoga studio gets, running her business is no sweat.
Visit quickbooks.co.uk for details. Intuit QuickBooks.
In case you didn't know, TuneIn lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio, except you can hear them from anywhere. If you want to find a station from somewhere else in the world, navigate to the By Location section under Browse. Keep exploring with TuneIn.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip
Follow
Bayless.
and TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
The Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
Yes, indeed. Bloomberg Business Week. Carol Master along with Jason Kelly. So I say Apple and you say yield curve, right?
Yeah, I have to say, when you brought this up yesterday, I was like, wait, what? I don't know.
Did she mix up a couple of stories?
Yeah,
there?
exactly. I'm not sure.
Always
these
possible.
Things, yeah, it's possible, but not in this case. It's a really interesting story. And one of our favorite reporters for sure, Liz Cappo-McCormick. She'll be along momentarily.
First up, back to your top business stories, and let's get an update on the trading day. We've got a bit of a rally, Charlie
We certainly
Pellet.
do. You say Apple, I say higher. We have got the Apple shares up by 1.4% right now. The Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ pushing higher. Rally indeed. S&P, NASDAQ, they're at a record. S&P up 20 right now, higher by 0.6%. S&P at 33.90. We've got NASDAQ at a record up 99 there, 98.31, up by 1%. The Dow, no record. It is up by 150 points now, higher by 0.5%. Federal Reserve officials viewed their current monetary policy as appropriate, quote, for a time while they remain remain on guard against domestic and global risks that could slow the longest American expansion on record. Steve Matthews follows the Federal Reserve for Bloomberg News. He was our guest moments ago right here on Bloomberg Business Week.
Steady as she goes. The new language in the minutes are that the Fed is considering interest rates where things are right now to be appropriate for a time. And the new language in this minutes, and if you want to parse over words, is for a time. It's unspecific, but basically they're saying, there's not going to be a increase in rates or decrease in rates for some time.
We've got gold up 0.4%, $16.08 the ounce. West Texas Intermediate crude up 2.5%, $53.36 a barrel. Groupon plummeting to a record low after delivering worse than expected results and announcing plans to stop selling goods, a retreat for a company that once aspired to be a major shopping service. Groupon shares plunging 42% right now after earnings. Dish down 0.4%, TiVo surging by 22%. Lots of earnings coming up after the bell, including travel-related stocks such as Avis Budget and Hyatt Hotels. We'll also be hearing from Boston Beer, Jack in the Box, and Zillow. Recapping, stocks higher, S&P up 20, up 0.6%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thanks a lot. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, so this story, I loved it. I mentioned it yesterday at the top of our broadcast, and so lucky for us, we have the reporter who wrote it, Liz Capel-McCormick. She's bond and FX reporter here at Bloomberg. She joins us on the phone from New Jersey. I loved it. Who'd have thunk that, leave it to you, Liz, to make a connection between what's going on with Apple yesterday, their revenue disappointment dragged down the stock, dragged down the equity markets for a while as well, but you tie it into the yield curve. Tell us a little bit more about this.
Right, not too often the bond wonks like us get to say Apple and yield curve, but I mean it's like many people have said, when Apple speaks, people listen, and of course True. We've all been concerned about the virus and it's spreading. But when Apple says their revenue might, not come in at guidance, that really woke people up. And like you said yesterday, the stocks, really took a tumble. And for the bond market, which has kind of had this torrid demand, even when, before the Apple message, when stocks kind of rebound from the worst of it, because the bond market just still very weary that this potential hit to China growth and the knock-on to global and the U.S. is just creating new headwinds, and that, we just might see growth still lag and inflation lag. So there you go, bond yields lower and the curve just reflattening, like you mentioned.
And so, Liz, does this feel like a blip, a reset, a harbinger? Like when you see a stock of this magnitude or a stock of this importance, start to have this effect, is this a commentary on the power of that stock and that company, or is it a commentary on the market and where it may be going next?
Well, I'm no stock guru, but somebody was saying, maybe this is what Apple smartly does, is kind of manages expectations. So that might be, part of what they do. But it kind of gets to, which even Chair Powell and everyone has talked about, it's supply chain. How can this virus and shutdowns in China affect things? I mean, I went to buy a couch the other day. I won't say from where. And they said, well, it might be delayed because it's coming out from China. There's so many wrinkles of not knowing where you think this is connected that it's hitting. So I think whereas Apple is recovering, it is a warning that we just don't know how bad this is going to go. And you see that from a lot of, smart folks saying, you can give some estimates of how we think growth is being hit now, but we just don't know where this goes, right?
What I love about it, Liz, it's a reminder of the sensitivity of financial markets given the right, factor. And that's just a reminder that things can change very quickly in terms of the sentiment of the market, sentiment of investors, and everyone's outlook on things. And I thought that was really, and it can come from anywhere. Who would have thought, like you said, that connection between Apple and the yield curve.
Right.
All right. Thank you so much. Liz Capel-McCormick, bond and FX reporter for Bloomberg, joining us on the phone from New Jersey, making a connection that maybe we didn't see coming. This is sort of like, I feel like in
the mini black swan?
Well, no, I was going to say in the Venn diagram of like things Carol Massar is interested in, like this checks out, as the kids say.
Because I love, it's a reminder that these things can come from strange places, but it affects the financial markets, right? And that's when we start to pay attention. I love these kind of connections. And I think
it's a very Bloomberg-y story, too.
It's a very Bloomberg-y story.
Interesting, we should point out that, and Charlie mentioned this, but it's worth repeating.
The NASDAQ?
Well, no, I was going to say Apple, up 1.6% today, basically making up everything it lost yesterday.
And it's up 10% this year.
Right.
So, that growth trade continues to propel the markets higher. We continue to see investors, that's where they are going, in those names that have pushed markets, steadily higher over the last decade.
It fits with our theme for the day.
What is it?
Steady as she goes.
Steady as she goes. See?
Yeah.
Isn't that funny how it works out occasionally?
I know. It all tends to happen that way.
All right. Coming up.
Speaking of steady as she goes, maybe even quicker, is Tesla.
Yeah, exactly. Another story that will certainly be one of the big ones again for 2020. That stock is up 119% so far this year.
This year.
That's this year alone.
It's not even March.
No, exactly. February 19th, and that's where we are on Tesla shares. But we're going to get into it. A fascinating story. Dana Hall covers Elon Musk, covers Tesla, and this is about the company and its next big challenge. And we know Elon Musk has his hand in a lot of different pots, whether it's space, whether it's batteries, whether it's the Boring Company in terms of transportation, and this one certainly fits into their overall theme.
Also, next hour, we're going to catch up with the CEO of Curaleaf, Joe Lusardi.
Looking forward to that.
Interesting to catch up with him right now at a time where, candidly, pot stocks, they were the darling of 2018 and even into 2019. Not so much here in 2020.
No, exactly. His stock, the Curaleaf shares really rallied big time in 2019. We caught up with him at the year ahead and the executive chairman at the Bloomberg 50. So we'll catch up in terms of what they're doing for expansion and what 2020 looks like.
All right, that's all straight ahead. But first, let's get back over to Bob Moon. He's got your world and national headlines. Hey, Bob.
Jason, lingering questions about possible Trump campaign links to emails hacked by Russia and exposed by WikiLeaks popped up again dramatically in a London courtroom today. Lawyers for Julian Assange said they're prepared to provide evidence that President Trump was prepared to offer the WikiLeaks founder a pardon if he agreed to quote-unquote play ball and say Russia was not involved in leaking Democratic Party emails during the 2016 campaign. The White House calls the claim, quote, a total lie. Assange is now fighting extradition to the U.S. on spying charges. Former Illinois Governor Rod Blagojevich made a statement to the media outside his Chicago home today after President Trump commuted his 14-year federal prison sentence for corruption.
President Trump is a man who is tough and outspoken, but he also has a kind heart. And this is an act of kindness, and I also believe it's the beginning of the process to actually turn an injustice into a justice.
Blagojevich was convicted of essentially trying to sell Barack Obama's vacated Senate seat, but he was far from apologetic, calling the charges persecution parading as prosecution and saying he was returning from exile as a free political prisoner. In almost pleading tones, former Vice President Joe Biden had a message for voters in Nevada ahead of that state's caucuses.
We need you badly. We have a chance. We have an incredible chance now.
Biden is trying to fight his way back after defeats in New Hampshire and Iowa. 6 Democratic hopeful debate in Las Vegas tonight for the first time, including Mike Bloomberg. He's the founder and majority shareholder of Bloomberg LP, the parent of Bloomberg Radio. Global news 24 hours a day on air and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. I'm Bob Moon.
Elite advisory firms rely on BNY Mellon's Pershing to meet the needs of their most complex clients. Karen Novak, Chief Operating Officer at Pershing Advisor Solutions, explains how.
At BNY Mellon's Pershing, we bring customized insights and strategies to help you grow your advisory business and stay on the leading edge. We can support the needs of your most sophisticated clients with a full range of investment and wealth management solutions, from access to private banking to consolidated bank and brokerage custody. Learn why so many of the largest advisory firms turn to us for the financial strength and high-touch service that BNY Mellon's Pershing can provide. Are you well positioned to stand out from your competition?
Learn more at Pershing.com or call 800-445-4467. Brokerage custody provided by Pershing LLC and other services provided by Pershing Advisor Solutions LLC. Both members of FINRA and SIPC. Private banking and bank custody provided by BNY Mellon NA. Member FDIC.
Message and data rates may apply. T&C and privacy terms can be found at babbel.com/terms. Please don't text and drive.
Have you wanted to speak a new language, but you thought it'd be too hard or take too much time? Then try Babbel for free by texting EXPLORE to 64,000. In just 15 minutes a day, you'll be on your way to speaking a new language in just a few weeks. And right now, you can try Babbel for free. Babbel starts out teaching you words and phrases by matching them with pictures. You won't believe how easy the interactive program is. Soon the sentences get a little bigger, and before you know it, you're having simulated conversations voiced by native speakers. And because Babbel is crafted by language experts and uses the spaced repetition method, in just 10 to 15 minutes a day, you'll be speaking the language of your choice with real confidence. With Babbel, you can speak a language. Just text EXPLORE to 64,000 and start your first lesson in the language of your choice for free. Download the Babbel app or text EXPLORE to 64,000 and try it for free. Text EXPLORE to
Discover Ireland's Wild Atlantic Way with Aer Lingus. Fly London to the west of Ireland from $32.99 each way as part of a return trip. Enjoy breathtaking scenery, taste fresh seafood, and explore wild coastal walks. Smart enjoys a short break in Ireland. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at airlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn. When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip
Follow
Bayless.
at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Major League Baseball is back. Are you ready to unlock the 2020 season with TuneIn Premium?
And this one is gone. It hits the foul pole.
Be there from day one with every single game of spring training, rivalry games, split squads, Cactus League, Grapefruit League. TuneIn Premium has it all. Then, when the pitch count starts for real, experience live and on-demand access to every game, everywhere you go. From opening day to the World Series. Don't miss out on the action. Search Premium to upgrade today.
Ah, finally another commercial, said no one ever. Visit TuneIn.com/premium to upgrade now and get over 45 commercial-free music stations.
In case you didn't know, TuneIn lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio, except you can hear them from anywhere. If you want to find a station from somewhere else in the world, navigate to the By Location section under Browse. Keep exploring with TuneIn.
And always entertaining. They're a little bit of a lot of things, but they're all pure love. Adopt pure love at theshelterpetproject.org. Brought to you by the Ad Council, the Humane Society of the United States, and Maddie's Fund.
Why has J.D. Power ranked Commonwealth Financial Network #1 in independent advisor satisfaction among financial investment firms for the 6th straight time? We think it comes down to one thing: you. Because it's your input and feedback that keeps us focused on what's most important to you and your clients and continually pushes us to be the best we can be. Maybe that's why we receive top marks in every category of the J.D. Power 2019 Advisor Satisfaction Survey. They named us #1 in client support, #1 in firm leadership, #1 in operational support, #1 in compensation, #1 in professional development support, and #1 in technology support. Ready to partner with the best? Call Commonwealth at 866-462-3638 or visit commonwealth.com and feel the power. Member FINRA SIPC, a registered investment advisor. For 2019 J.D. Power award information, visit jdpower.com/awards.
25 years ago, NJIT graduate Dick Sweeney co-founded Keurig Green Mountain, a company whose incredible innovations changed the way the world brews a cup of coffee. Today, he lectures widely on business leadership and is a strong advocate for NJIT's work to combine business education with the power of STEM.
NJIT is definitely fostering the innovative thinking for budding entrepreneurs simply because that's the world we live in. NJIT is producing students that have been trained, educated, and given the business acumen to be a contributor to a company. The distinct mission is to develop great STEM scholars. The attributes I've always looked for in team members are heart, smarts, guts, and luck. So we want people with passion, intelligence, courage, and never discount luck. The student coming out of NJIT has experienced all of that.
NJIT, New Jersey Institute of Technology. Learn more at njit.edu.
Markets, headlines, and breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. We've got the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all advancing. S&P and the NASDAQ Composite Index both at records. S&P right now, best level of the day, up 22 points. That's a gain of 0.7%. NASDAQ up 104, higher by 1.1%. The Dow up 174 points, a gain there of 0.6%. Equities are advancing on signs that China may be planning further measures to support its economy as it reels from a virus-induced slowdown, and after U.S. data this morning pointed to solid growth. S&P again up 22, higher by 0.7%. 10-year the yield 1.56%. Gold up 0.3%, 16.06 the ounce, and West Texas Intermediate crude up 2.7%, 53.46 a barrel. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thanks a lot. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week Live, Bloomberg Radio, and streaming live on YouTube.
There's room enough for two up on the roof.
That'll make sense in a second. This story in this week's Bloomberg Business Week, it's on newsstands, or will be on newsstands. Actually, it's on newsstands right now as we speak, and it's online and at Bloomberg.com. It's about Tesla's next big challenge, and we're talking about solar roofs. Bloomberg technology reporter and the person we go to when we want to know anything about Tesla is Dana Hull. She joins us on the phone from San Francisco. Also with us is Joel Weber, editor of Bloomberg Business Week. He's in our Interactive Brokers studio. So, Dana, we know Elon Musk has his hands in a lot of pots. We know he's definitely in the world of solar energy. What's the latest thing that he's up to?
Well, I think the big news is that this is no longer vaporware. I mean, remember when Musk first unveiled the solar roof in the fall of 2016, right before Tesla was acquiring Solar City, people thought, this is a fake product. They're never going to make this. There's not a market for this. And lo and behold, the first customers in California have them. And I went out to a family's home in San Ramon that got one of the latest roofs. And, I mean, they love it. They are overjoyed. Their neighbors are coming to look at it. This is a family that's sort of all in on the Tesla product line, but I think it shows that there is a market for this roof. It may be a small niche market, but one does exist.
So, Dana, one of the challenges with the solar roofs has actually been getting them onto roofs, right? So what's happened on the Tesla front to allow that problem to sort of be remedied or at least seemingly at the moment?
Yeah, so the roof that's now up there, it's sort of version 3. I think that Tesla, tried very hard to cut costs and to bring down the costs of installation. So the tiles are slightly bigger than they were before. And I think a big challenge that the company still faces is just installation time. I mean, this family that's very thrilled with their roof told me that it took the crew 6 days to tear off the old roof and 17 days to install the new one. That's a long time. Like, if you've ever bought a house and gotten a roof done, I mean, an average roof, it's basically like a week tops to do the whole thing. And so Tesla is definitely going to have to do a lot to kind of bring down that installation time. And they are now hiring like crazy. They're having open houses to hire roofers and installers of this solar glass product in 17 states.
And so how much does the solar roof, does it benefit from the, dare I say, sort of glow of the Tesla brand and the Musk brand and all of that?
Oh, Oh, for sure. I mean, I think that the people that are buying this roof tend to be affluent customers who already own the Tesla car. But remember, if you have an electric car, you need to charge it. And chances are that your electric bill goes up quite a bit once you start plugging in a car every night at home. So if you have a car, it's kind of like a gateway drug to going solar because solar power makes a lot more sense if you can charge your car on sunlight. You get to virtue signal even more, and it's really sort of this beneficial ecosystem. So you're seeing more and more people who have electric cars thinking about going solar, and there is a federal tax credit for solar that covers roughly a fourth of the cost of both the materials and the installation.
Okay, so Dana, like the bulls out there, the Tesla bulls out there are like, I think the stock is way up still. Even today it's up. What does this mean for Tesla's overall business if they can get this right?
So I think that, Tesla, first and foremost, is always thought of as an auto company. They are known for making cars. But from the beginning, they have always talked about the energy side of the business. And people just never really paid much attention to it because, A, it's a small part of revenue, and B, it just never really seemed real. But I think that now in 2020, you're starting to see the whole sort of bigger Tesla ambitions come together. And Musk has said several times that the energy side could scale faster than the auto side. And, the solar roofs are just kind of one small part of it. I think the other thing that will be interesting to watch is, where they take the batteries that they've been selling, not just to homeowners, but to utilities.
Yeah.
I'm just curious how big the marketplace potentially, Dana, is for this. It's $83,000, you said, I think in your story. For the power walls. And I do wonder, is it a roof you do that lasts for 50 years? Is it something that can make its way across the country, across the world pretty easily?
I think the challenge. So this family in San Ramon, their house is 2,500 square feet. It was $83,000 before the tax credit for the roof and the two power walls, and the warranty is 25 years. I think we're still in the United States, at least. I mean, solar is not a 50-state market. If you live in places where there is a lot of cold weather and not a lot of sun, if you're in sort of you're in places like Michigan, you're not going to see a lot of solar. But certainly in California, Arizona, Texas, Florida, there's a lot of potential for solar. And here in California, we actually have a law that was passed that all new home construction has to have solar. So there's huge potential for it. Whether Tesla can actually make money doing this remains to be seen.
We all heard that quick flex, Dan, and we were like, oh, here in sunny California. I don't know what it's like in places where it's like cold and stuff.
Like New York.
I mean, for California to say,
huge. That's huge.
If you're doing a new home, you need to have a solar roof on it, and be it Tesla or any other things. Like they've basically incentivized the marketplace to take a look at this, right, and backed it up with subsidies and stuff. Dana, when Californians are looking at their options, like where does solar roof kind of come in on the various price points and stuff?
I think, so to be clear, Tesla's solar roof is definitely more expensive than if you just have like a regular roof with standard solar panels. There's no question that you're paying a premium for
just like a Tesla car compared to other cars,
just like the cars. But there are people that are willing. There are plenty of people that are willing to do that. And and it's interesting. A lot of solar roofs have to be approved by homeowner associations, and so the design and the aesthetics and the architectural value is certainly an issue, particularly in more affluent communities. So, you want a roof that looks good. And, I mean, by all accounts, the Tesla solar roof does look pretty good. But I think that, here in California, people are very worried about blackouts. We've had a lot of issues with PG&E and, rolling, sort of cutting power to people because of the fire danger. And the idea of being able to go off-grid and charge your car on sunlight is very appealing.
So one of the things that I'm wondering here, and this will be kind of the last thought, Dana, and it's a big one, is like how close to Tesla accomplishing something that looks like a flywheel, right? Like here we got the cars, everybody got that. You've got the roofs that are finally starting to come in. You got the power walls. Like it almost feels like as crazy as this year has been for the stock, like things are really starting to go their way if some of these other things come into line.
Just got about 30 seconds.
Yeah, I mean, I think 2020 you're seeing the realization of the vision, the original vision of the company, which was to accelerate the advent of sustainable, not transportation, but sustainable energy, which they're beginning to do in big ways.
And meanwhile, Tesla shares just go up and up and up.
Up 118% this year.
Yeah, crazy. Well, and just today, up another 6.5%. Dana Hall, thank you so much. Always good to catch up with you. Always something going on in the world of Tesla and Elon Musk. Our thanks to Joel Weber, editor of the magazine, here with us in our Bloomberg.
I just love that he keeps trying different things and just kind of pushing.
I thought you were talking about Joel. I was like, yeah, Joel does try new things. I'll take credit for that.
Good for you, Joel.
Yeah, good for you, Joel. We're proud of you.
It's all Dana. It's all Dana.
All right. You're listening to Bloomberg Business Week.
Discover Cork with Aer Lingus when you fly from London from $55.99 each way as part of a return trip. Experience this vibrant city and head to the coast for authentic Irish seafood and stunning scenery. Smart enjoys a short break in Ireland. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at aerlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
You know what it's like when you can't find your debit card? Panic. That's what it's like. Until you realise, as a Halifax Visa debit card holder, that you can freeze your card on the spot. Control your Halifax Visa debit card with the Halifax mobile app. Easy as.
You can only freeze certain transaction types. Terms and conditions apply.
Good morning, this is your Southern service to London Victoria. Join in our onboard quiz. Here's our next clue. What sea sounds like a handheld party food but keeps you dry and protected from the rain? Not canapes, canopies.
At Southern Railway, we're investing over £7 million into making improvements for you, like canopies, cycle parking and new platform lighting across more of our stations. Find out more and book your tickets at southernrailway.com. Southern Railway, we're with you.
This week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, another election story, but this one with a twist.
We need changing, gotta check me a vote. I got LGBT rights and I'm a legalized dope. America's going broke and I ain't gonna sit back while Creepy Joe looks at little girls like they some snacks.
Listen to this episode of the New Yorker Radio Hour on TuneIn today.
World 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, on the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is Bloomberg Radio.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. We move into the final hour of trading on this Fed Minute Wednesday. We've got the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ all advancing. S&P, NASDAQ on track for records. S&P right now up 21 at 33.91. That is a gain of 0.6%. We've got NASDAQ up 100 points, higher by 1%. The Dow up 158 points, a gain there of 0.5%. Stocks are advancing on signs that China may be planning further measures to support its economy as it reels from a virus-induced slowdown, and after U.S. data this morning pointed to solid growth. The Federal Reserve out with its minutes of last month's policy meeting, and with that story, here's Bloomberg's Vinny Del Giudice.
Fed officials viewed their current policy, holding interest rates steady, appropriate, quote, for a time, but they also remained on guard against global risks weighing on the U.S. economy. Central bankers also discussed switching from a fixed inflation target to a more flexible range as they grapple with persistently low inflation and interest rates. Vinny Del Giudice, Bloomberg Radio.
We will have more on the Federal Reserve, those minutes specifically, but also the day's economic data coming up in just a moment, right here on Bloomberg Business Week. Speaking of the economic data, home construction could be set to take off. Building permits rose in January to the highest since 2007. It is the latest sign low mortgage rates are bolstering the property market. Housing starts are also elevated, hovering close to December's 13-year high. Wholesale prices up. The government's producer price index rose 0.5% in January, largest increase since 2018. Service costs accounted for 90% of the gain, a sign that inflation could be accelerating. After earnings, Groupon shares plunging now by 41.4%. Also after earnings, Blue Apron shares, they are down by 20.5%. A sales beat from TiVo. Projections for 2020 revenue beat estimates. Shares up the most in 2 years. TiVo up by 23.4%. After the bell, we will be hearing from Boston Beer. We'll have those details as they become available. Gold up 0.4%, 16.07 the ounce, recapping S&P up 21, up 0.6%. I'm Charlie Pellet. That's a Bloomberg Business Flash.
This is Bloomberg Business Week with Carol Masser and Jason Kelly on Bloomberg Radio.
All right, time for some Business Week economics. Let's talk about it with Alex Harris, bond reporter for Bloomberg, and Yelena Shalecheva, senior U.S. economist for Bloomberg Economics. Got those minutes, Yelena? Your team poured through them, I'm sure. What'd you find?
They were more interesting than we expected.
Oh, do tell.
Okay.
A few words, right?
I would say that we were thinking, okay, maybe this will be outdated because, policymakers only had 1 week to try to assess the impact from the coronavirus.
Right.
After the news broke, but they did make 8 mentions of the virus in the minutes, and that was quite prominent, actually, more than I thought. And what it means is that they are really jumping on it, assessing all the risks, and they will not hesitate to act if this really threatens economic outlook.
Can we make the conclusion or assumption that if the Fed really didn't care about it, they wouldn't say it that many times, or would they do it anyway just to say we're on it, we're watching it? Like, I'm just trying to, are there
they're
nuances?
serious about their jobs, they are watching it.
So if they're including it, it means that it's something that's on their mind and on their radar.
Absolutely. And although there were some mentions of the Middle East crisis in the minutes, which is outdated, we are not even talking about this anymore. So I would also say, there was some, Middle East crisis, right? Yeah. So I would say that, policymakers would not hesitate to act and cut rates if they need to. But it looks like despite all the risks and everything, they feel like they already provided a lot in terms of insurance cuts that they delivered in 2019 so that the economy can withstand, all the exogenous shocks coming from the coronavirus. So they're in a wait-and-see mode, and, they truly believe that policy remains accommodative.
All right, so what do you make of, all of this, given the backdrop of the bond market here, Alex Harris?
Oh, I think even though they mentioned it, 8 times they talked about the coronavirus, I still think it's a little bit stale because, again, that was 3 weeks ago. There's been a lot more development. And then you had the stuff about Apple the other day, and now you have to start thinking about earnings and supply chain disruptions. And so I think it's a drop in the bucket in what we've seen in terms of economic impact. Other things in the minutes separately, we had a rundown of what the unwind of the Treasury bill purchase program could look like, what the unwind of the repo operations program could look like. And what's interesting is I don't think much of that was new. I think Powell had laid it out pretty nicely in the press conference 3 weeks ago. But what I think New York Fed SOMA manager, she runs the portfolio essentially at the New York Fed, Lori Logan, I think what she was warning people about is look, we're still going to be buying $60 billion a month in Treasury bills when supply is expected to drop off. We're going to be pulling back from the repo market. Volatility is going to return to some extent, and you all need to not freak out about it. That Fed funds rate might move within the target range, but it's okay. That repo is going to start reacting to things again in the way that it used to before all of this, and you all need to be prepared for it and to understand it and to know that this volatility is returning, but it is normal. And so I think that's what, that was really telling us. Not so much, it's rehashing what Powell said, but that volatility is coming back and volatility will be okay here and rates are going to start to move again.
Was it Peter Core you just wrote in the magazine recently about, that the complacency among global central banks even, that folks are just not ready for when volatility comes back or when we start to see things tick a little bit higher.
Yeah, and then I think you get sort of
Yelena, what was that?
No.
What was that? Come on.
But I think you then get people freaking out when volatility returns because I think really we've had
which is normal,
and we've had a decade plus of complacency. Really, I mean, I think people have just become a nerd to the fact that even when you think about the coronavirus, that you know what, we'll be okay because the Fed's going to step in, that, you know, liquidity will be provided, that these central banks are going to come in and tackle this.
Well, you set us up really well because Bloomberg Economics, they did a deep dive, did some research into the coronavirus, specifically trying to get an idea of what people say, what the economic impact might be. What did you guys find out?
So it looks like, so the research that you're citing, Bloomberg Economics actually looked at quarterly reports, like earnings reports, and calls to find the word coronavirus and whether it was mentioned in a way that the impact would be moderate or it will have a severe impact. So these were earnings calls for the fourth quarter, and people were just starting to realize how big of an impact it could become. So it will be very interesting to see the next round of reports. So, but already in those reports, some companies were very much concerned. So, and we expect that number to increase. So there were like more than 150 companies out of the S&P 500 that mentioned the impact. And it was moderate, it was still moderate, and people were still not sure. But our research from our Chinese economists actually is telling us that the economy is operating way below the capacity.
Final thought to you, Alex Harris.
We got to wait and see. Again, you know, as I said before, you know, we have a Fed meeting coming up next month. You know, be interested to see what more Powell has to say about the coronavirus.
Well, especially if it's picking up momentum. Like we
Exactly.
watch those numbers, new cases, unfortunately, you know, deaths from the virus and stuff, and the spread, right?
Yeah.
Beyond the Chinese borders is certainly a big thing.
Well, and you saw on the cruise ship, there was an article, I think, in the Wall Street Journal today, and it was they were talking to an infectious disease doctor who blasted Diamond, the cruise line, for basically how they operated the quarantine, like that it really wasn't that effective. So now you've got to wonder, you've put all these people out there, like, is this going to spread?
Yeah.
In terms of economic data, it will be very important to watch very timely indicators, anecdotal evidence, because the official data will lag as well as the minutes did. So very important to watch anecdotal evidence, such as contained in Beige Book or regional Fed service, things like that.
Okay, good to know.
Totally. All right, thanks to both of you, Yelena Shalecheva, senior economist for Bloomberg Economics, and Alex Harris, bond reporter for Bloomberg News. Coming up, going to get a look at the business of weed. The CEO of Curaleaf, he's going to be along with us.
Alex
joining
Harris
us from
is
Boston.
laughing at you.
I know. She laughs at me all the time. That's not new.
It's a business of weed.
You were really excited about it. That's
I am. It's going to be great.
We love Joe Lasardi, Curaleaf Holdings CEO, so we'll talk to him in just a moment. Let's get back to World and National News headlines and Bob Moon.
Carol, thank you. Fighting his extradition to the U.S., WikiLeaks founder Julian Assange's lawyers dropped a political bombshell in a London court today. They claimed to have evidence that then U.S. Representative Dana Rohrabacher went to see Assange and claimed he was acting on instructions of the president, offering a pardon or some other way out if Assange, quote, played ball, unquote, and said Russia had nothing to do with leaking Democratic Party emails. The White House calls the claim a complete fabrication. Before he was unseated in 2018, Rohrabacher was known as Vladimir Putin's strongest defender in Congress. Republican House Minority Leader Kevin McCarthy had told colleagues in 2016 that he thought both Trump and Rohrabacher might be on Putin's payroll, though he later said he was joking. Former Governor Rod Blagojevich came down the front steps of his home to celebrate his new freedom from prison, shaking hands with supporters and smiling, also bleeding from a cut on his chin.
It's been a long time since I've shaved with a normal razor.
Blagojevich did not apologize for the corruption scandal that put him in prison until President Trump commuted the 14-year sentence yesterday.
I'm a Trumpocrat.
That was Blagojevich. He called Trump tough and outspoken, but also kind-hearted. 79 more people aboard a Princess cruise ship off the coast of Japan have now tested positive for coronavirus. The president of Princess Cruises, Jan Swartz, says this hasn't been easy for anyone.
This is an unprecedented situation. I mean, nobody going on vacation thinks that they're going to be notified in the last days that they've got an extension of 14 days and they're not going to be allowed to leave their cabin.
She says her heart breaks for all involved. I'm Bob Moon.
It's called Bloomberg Daybreak Europe because that's easier to remember than continuously gathered news and analysis from an entire continent.
Are we moving through the worst of the European growth slump?
Bloomberg Daybreak Europe.
Is there a sense that the environment for multinationals in Ireland is becoming a bit more difficult?
Worth remembering.
What indicators are you looking at?
Weekdays at 1 a.m. Eastern on Bloomberg Radio, the Bloomberg Business app, and BloombergRadio.com. Bloomberg, the world is listening.
If you love them enough to listen to them practice the same song on tuba, please be done. Over and over and over and over and over, then surely you'll check NHTSA.gov/the right seat to make sure they're correctly buckled in the back seat.
Sounds good, honey.
Check today at NHTSA.gov/the right seat. Brought to you by the National Highway Traffic Safety Administration and the Ad Council.
In-depth analysis, concise reporting, need-to-know global business news. Around the world and across the markets, Bloomberg connects the dots for decision makers. Stay on top of today's headlines. Follow big breakthroughs in tech. Understand the latest political issues. See how the world's wealthiest are spending their money. Track what's happening in the markets, and much more. Subscribe today to Bloomberg, the global standard for business reporting. Get it all at Bloomberg.com/subscriptions.
To protect her home and family in a disaster, Karen was willing to wade through water, mud, and insurance paperwork.
Yeah, I can do this.
You go, Karen! By simply understanding and updating what her insurance covers and doesn't cover now, she'll be better prepared no matter when disaster strikes. Learn other simple ways to protect your home and family before a natural disaster at ready.gov. That's ready.gov. A message from FEMA and the Ad Council.
Hey, have you heard? The Mayor of London has launched his latest van scrappage scheme to help tackle London's toxic air. Small businesses or sole traders like me with a polluting van could now get £7,000, which you could use to trade up to a Euro 6 vehicle. And you could get an extra £2,500 towards running costs if you go electric. The scheme is now even easier to qualify for, and it's open to any businesses with up to 50 employees, like mine. So, I'm going to search TfL Scrappage to see if I'm eligible and apply. You should do the same. To the Mayor of London and TfL, every journey matters.
At the Bank of Santander, they've created Stan, a smart bot that can predict the future of remortgaging.
I read Stan. Will my mortgage rate go up?
1955 was the last time Newcastle won the cup.
No, and try not to mumble.
Playing, let's get ready to rumble.
Meanwhile, at Santander, they can't predict your future, but they'll help secure it with great mortgage rates fixed for up to 10 years. See what's possible at Santander.
Early repayment charges apply. Lending subject to status and criteria. Your home may be repossessed if you do not keep up repayments on your mortgage.
Let's get this right, sir. You didn't see three men dressed as clowns take off in a van with a Renaissance painting because you were distracted by, and I quote, a sporty red compact SUV with a bold mesh grille, a sculpted bonnet with sweeping roofline on diamond-cut alloys.
And beautiful rear haunches.
So, you saw a Jaguar E-Pace. But what about the clowns?
What clowns?
Jaguar E-Pace, designed to steal attention. Search Jaguar E-Pace.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
Major League Baseball is back. Are you ready to unlock the 2020 season with TuneIn Premium?
And this one is gone! It hits the foul pole!
Be there from day one with every single game of spring training, rivalry games, split squads, Cactus League, Grapefruit League. TuneIn Premium has it all. Then, when the pitch count starts for real, experience live and on-demand access to every game, everywhere you go, from opening day to the World Series. Don't miss out on the action. Search Premium to upgrade today.
When you're not listening to your team, take it to the end zone, the rim, or the net. Keep up with the biggest moments in sports by following TuneIn on social media.
Block, Cook into the end zone for the touchdown.
From reminders of the live top games to tips of the best sports stations and podcasts.
Welcome to Undisputed. We are live from Los Angeles. I'm Jenny Taft here with Skip
Follow
Bayless.
at TuneIn on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram to get the most out of TuneIn.
Ah, finally another commercial, said no one ever. Visit tunein.com/premium to upgrade now and get over 45 commercial-free music stations.
This week on the New Yorker Radio Hour, another election story, but this one with a twist.
We need changing, gotta check me a vote. I got LGBT rights and I'm a legalized dope. America's going broke and I ain't gonna sit back. While Creepy Joe looks at little girls like they some snacks.
Listen to this episode of the New Yorker Radio Hour on TuneIn today.
A lot of people aren't aware that TuneIn lets you listen to the same terrestrial stations that you pick up on your FM AM dial, except you can hear them from anywhere. To see all the stations broadcasting in your area, find the local radio section on the home screen. Keep it local with TuneIn.
Breaking news 24 hours a day at Bloomberg.com, the Bloomberg Business app, and on Quick Take by Bloomberg. This is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
From Bloomberg World Headquarters, I'm Charlie Pellet. Stocks higher on track for records. Let's head right over to the first word breaking news desk for today's afternoon call. Here he is, Bill Maloney.
And good afternoon, Charlie. That's right. U.S. stocks trading in the green today with the Dow currently up 141 points. S&P's gained 20, while NASDAQ rises by 93. The U.S. 10-year yield at 1.57%. Gold trading higher by 6. Small caps are higher by 5 points. And 9 of the main 11 S&P sectors are also trading higher, led by gains in energy and tech. Only utilities and real estate fell. Nasdaq biotechs are little change. Transports rise 75 points. Semis gain 2.4%. And the VIX is down by 2%. Leaders to the upside in the Dow, Disney, Goldman Sachs, and JP Morgan, while Walmart and Cisco led to the downside. After earnings, Garmin rose 7%, traded to its highest level since 2013, while Analog Devices rose 5% after its numbers. And wrapping things up, some of the names pointing after the bell tonight include Boston Beer, Hyatt, and Cheesecake Factory. Live from the first breaking news desk, I'm Bill Maloney. Charlie?
And we thank you very much, Bill Maloney. And to hear live breaking news over your Bloomberg, type Squawk, SQUAWK, on your terminal. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Charlie, thank you so much. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week right here on Bloomberg Radio.
So last year at the Bloomberg Year Ahead Summit, we caught up with Joe Lusardi, Curaleaf Holdings CEO. We've also been lucky to have his executive chairman, Boris Jordan, also on our air. He was named part of the Bloomberg 50. Curaleaf, based in Wakefield, Massachusetts. Joe joining us from our Boston bureau on this Wednesday. Earlier, he participated in the Canavest East event. It was on a panel looking at the cannabis business from a multi-state operator perspective. So great to have back with us. Joe, nice to have you here again. Tell us a little bit about the panel and what you guys were looking at and how business is going.
Yeah, it was a great panel. It was an investor-focused panel, and there's a bunch of multi-state operators here in town to talk about their business. And I think, the overall theme is that U.S. cannabis is going to have a huge year this year. There are a number of catalysts on the horizon. You've got governors in New York, Connecticut, and Pennsylvania all talking about adult use. It's likely New Jersey will pass an adult use bill in the fall, along with Arizona. So there's going to be a lot of strong catalysts this year. And, Curaleaf, as the leading company in the space, is really positioned to capitalize on it. So overall, it was a very positive message and a good day.
So positive. I'm curious, do you have an idea of how many states might ultimately see state-level legalization this year? Because I know Florida and New Mexico, they seem to be struggling a little bit with their efforts. Do you have like a number that you've been thinking about?
Yeah, I think you'll see, Vermont likely will do an adult use sales program. States like Mississippi and South Dakota have initiatives on the ballot. So you could see 3 or 4 new states for medical and a handful of new states for adult use. Utah just enacted a program. Curaleaf was fortunate enough to win one of the 14 licenses in Utah. So we'll be entering that state later this year. And we're really excited about where the country is in the progression of cannabis across the states.
So, Joe, you guys have been pretty acquisitive. I think it's fair to say a lot of deal making going on in general. You closed on your acquisition of Select. That obviously was a big deal. Tell us about, if you can, an update on the purchase of Grassroots. I believe that's under federal review or under DOJ review.
Yeah, so Grassroots is going to be a very transformative acquisition for the company. It really gets us into key markets, including Illinois, Michigan. They've got a big presence in Pennsylvania and Maryland. We announced 2 weeks ago that we cleared the DOJ review, the HSR hurdle, and so now we're just working with state regulators to transfer the licenses, and we expect to close the deal in the spring.
And more deals to come?
Well, we're always on the lookout. I mean, we're not afraid to hit singles. There are a number of states where we operate in where we could do some bolt-ons, and we're always looking to deploy capital into accretive acquisition. So we're on the hunt and always active.
I mean, it feels like, given some of the, shall we say, sort of turbulence in the market last year, that maybe some of the smaller names could be looking for a way out. Are you seeing people sort of either pitch themselves or bankers pitching a little bit more fervently these days?
Yeah, I think the M&A activity will intensify this year. There are definitely a lot of small operators that want to find a dance partner and hitch their wagon to some of the bigger players. We did a big capital raise early this year. We did a $300 million raise, and so the balance sheet is well fortified to go out and be opportunistic. And we'll make sure we pick our shots carefully, but it looks like it's a very good year for acquisitions.
You and I talked a lot, too, about the vaping scare and, the impact that has had on you and kind of the industry specifically. Where are we on that? And any of your thoughts in terms of maybe, rolling back any vaping exposure?
Yeah, I think it's interesting in that, what that really highlighted was a greater awareness for people about what they put in their bodies. And so I think we're seeing a trend where people are gravitating to the regulated market. And I actually expect the vape category to continue to grow. There's a lot of innovation in the sector. There's new products and form factors coming all the time. And consumers have shown a real strong preference for that form factor. So I think it's going to continue to grow.
And so, as you sort of looked around the conference, the Canavest East event there in Boston, what was the mood among the participants, especially from the investor crowd?
Well, I mean, I think certainly there's a big difference between U.S. and Canadian cannabis at this point. I think people understand the decoupling and why the U.S. narrative is so strong. So I think the general mood was that, U.S. cannabis is on the rise. It grew, year over year. And I think, as I said, there's a number of catalysts on the horizon that could really propel the industry. So I thought the mood was overall, positive. It's definitely a tough capital raising environment. And so we definitely feel that we're in a privileged position with our balance sheet. And, there are a lot of people out there trying to find capital. But overall, I think the big macro trends are very positive.
Joe, as you know, getting the state approval, that's really cool and all, but the kind of holy grail is getting the federal government to allow weed, right? Because that has certainly, without that, kind of scared off the financial industry, and you need that in order to be able to kind of, do financial transactions easily from state to state. So what do you think about federal government signing off on this anytime soon this year?
Well, in an election year, it's hard to really predict what happens in D.C. And of course, there's some overhang from the impeachment stuff. But, what I think is telling is that if you look at even the Democratic presidential field, every candidate is pro-cannabis in some form or another. It's quite unpopular to be anti-cannabis at this point. We have 33 states with medical programs. I think we've reached more than a tipping point. I spend a lot of time in D.C. I will say clearly it's not a partisan issue, that, it covers people from both sides of the aisle. So I think it will happen, probably in the next 12 to 24 months, worst case.
All right, going to leave it there. Always to catch up with you. Really appreciate it. Joe Lusardi, he's the CEO of Curaleaf Holdings. He's joining us on this Wednesday from our Boston bureau. The company, though, based in Wakefield, Massachusetts. All right, you're listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Coming up, we've got the chart of the day with our own Dave Wilson, see where he takes us.
Yep, and then we're going to close up the market with Eric Clark over at Rational Dynamic Brands Fund. We're going to talk some names, including Lululemon. This is Bloomberg.
This is a Bloomberg Money Minute. Minutes from last month's Federal Reserve meeting were a non-event for Wall Street. Stocks remained modestly higher in the final hour after the minute showed Fed officials content to leave interest rates where they are for now. The Dow Jones Industrial Average is up 137, the S&P 500 up 18, the Nasdaq Composite is up 90. Bed Bath & Beyond plans to declutter its shelves as it works to turn its business around. New CEO Mark Tritton says the stores are so cluttered that many customers are walking out without buying anything. GM will get a tax break to build a new battery cell factory in Ohio, which it announced last fall. Local officials in Lordstown, Ohio, approved the tax abatement, which will allow the project to proceed. Don't you just love that new plane smell? New models and solid economic growth are boosting sales of business jets. An industry group says sales climbed 15% last year to the most in a decade. Larry Kofsky, Bloomberg Radio.
You're fierce. You take care of business and don't hold back. Taking care of your health shouldn't be any different. You know when something's off. Don't ignore symptoms like fatigue, joint pain, and rashes. Listen to your body. It could be lupus. We're here to help you take control. Learn how at BeFierceTakeControl.org. Brought to you by the Lupus Foundation of America and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention.
In-depth analysis, concise reporting, need-to-know global business news. Around the world and across the markets, Bloomberg connects the dots for decision makers. Stay on top of today's headlines. Follow big breakthroughs in tech. Understand the latest political issues. See how the world's wealthiest are spending their money. Track what's happening in the markets, and much more. Subscribe today to Bloomberg, the global standard for business reporting. Get it all at Bloomberg.com/subscription.
Discover Cork with Aer Lingus when you fly from London from $55.99 each way as part of a return trip. Experience this vibrant city and head to the coast for authentic Irish seafood and stunning scenery. Smart enjoys a short break in Ireland. Smart flies Aer Lingus. Book now at aerlingus.com. Offer subject to conditions and availability.
Despite never having used them, Alison Peartree was not initially a fan of purple bricks.
Because I heard from my uncle's cousin's neighbour's dog walker they don't have proper estate agents.
But Alison's uncle's cousin's neighbour's dog walker was wrong. Purple Bricks have experienced local agents ready to sell your home.
Turns out Martin from Purple Bricks was very knowledgeable. And he didn't charge commission. I've even recommended him to my sister's boyfriend's auntie's hairdresser, Sharon.
Purple Bricks. Book your free valuation today.
Fixed fee payable on instruction or after 10 months. Viewing service cost extra.
Pancake day is flipping fun. Pancake day is Stella. This day will be a yummy one.
'Cause pancakes love Nutella.
Pancake day is nearly here. Gather friends and family to enjoy some delicious pancakes on Tuesday the 25th of February. And don't forget, pancakes love Nutella.
At Ring, we've reinvented the doorbell. So no matter where you are or what time of day, you can watch over your home and the things you care about. Ring Video Doorbell streams HD video and two-way talk straight to your phone, so you can speak to whoever's at your door from anywhere.
Delivery. Oh, great. Could you leave it with my neighbour, please? Sure, no problem.
And it's so simple, you can install it yourself in minutes. See, hear and speak to whoever's at your door from wherever you are with Ring Video Doorbell. Available at ring.com and selected retailers.
Good morning, this is your Southern service to London Victoria. Join in our onboard quiz. Here's our next clue. What sea sounds like a handheld party food but keeps you dry and protected from the rain? Not canapes, canopies.
At Southern Railway, we're investing over £7 million into making improvements for you, like canopies, cycle parking and new platform lighting across more of our stations. Find out more and book your tickets at southernrailway.com. Southern Railway, we're with you.
The puck drops. 12 players face off to win. The suspense is pure torture, but you wouldn't miss this for the world. TuneIn brings you every minute of the NHL season. Listen live to hockey when it matters most on TuneIn.
You love TuneIn for live breaking news from CNN, MSNBC, Fox, CNBC, and more. But when you can't catch your favorite show as it airs, it might just be a click away as a podcast. Search your favorite news station to explore all the on-demand news shows on TuneIn.
Did you know your favorite radio stations are in your pocket? Yes, the TuneIn app lets you listen to the same radio stations you pick up on your home or car radio anywhere you want. To see all the stations broadcasting in your area, find the local radio section on the home screen. Keep it local with TuneIn.
This is not a commercial. This is a reminder. With TuneIn Premium, you could be listening to more music commercial-free. Get over 45 commercial-free music stations. Visit tunein.com/premium to upgrade.
Major League Baseball is back. Are you ready to unlock the 2020 season with TuneIn Premium?
And this one is gone! It hits the foul pole!
Be there from day one with every single game of spring training, rivalry games, split squads, Cactus League, Grapefruit League. TuneIn Premium has it all. Then, when the pitch count starts for real, experience live and on-demand access to every game, everywhere you go, from opening day to the World Series. Don't miss out on the action. Search Premium to upgrade today.
Casting live from the Bloomberg Interactive Brokers Studio in New York. Bloomberg 1130 to Washington, D.C. Bloomberg 99.1 to Boston. Bloomberg 106.1 to San Francisco. Bloomberg 960 to the country. Sirius XM Channel 119 and around the globe. The Bloomberg Business app and BloombergRadio.com. This is Bloomberg Business Week.
You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Carol Master along with Jason Kelly in our Interactive Brokers Studio. And for some reason, I think we're going to get a song that takes us back to 2000. I'm just going to say that.
I think that's a very good tease for Dave Wilson and his chart of the day.
Totally. So we'll get to that in just a moment. Right now, though, let's check in on the world of business. Take a look at the trading day. 29 minutes to go, Charlie Pellet.
Indeed. We've got the Dow, the S&P, and NASDAQ advancing. S&P, NASDAQ, they're on track for records. Equities are moving higher on signs that China may be planning further measures to support its economy as it reels from a virus-induced slowdown. Also, after Fed officials signaled they are not anxious to raise interest rates anytime soon. The 10-year down 132nd, the yield now 1.56%. S&P up 18 at a record 33.88, higher by 0.5%. The Dow up 138, up 0.5%, and NASDAQ up 90 points, up by 0.9%. As for the market backdrop, Samir Samana is Senior Global Market Strategist at Wells Fargo Investment Institute.
I think probably the more tricky part is the coronavirus and whether it's either contained or whether it does last the rest of this year, maybe even spills into next year. We think the former, but the risk is to the latter.
Among some of the stocks that are moving right now, Groupon, after last night's earnings report, it is plunging by 41.7%. Dish Network exceeded analyst estimates for sales and profit. Dish up 0.5%. A sales beat from TiVo, its shares surging 24.1%. Ally Financial falling the most in nearly 6 years after the company, which is the largest American auto lender, pushed into the subprime credit card business with a $2.65 billion acquisition. Ally shares down by 11.4%. Crude up 2.5%, 53.37 a barrel. Gold up 0.5%, 16.09 the ounce. Recapping, S&P up 19, up 0.6%. I'm Charlie Pellet, and that is a Bloomberg Business Flash.
Well, thank you, Charlie Pellet. You are listening to Bloomberg Business Week. Jason Kelly and Carol Masser here in New York.